Hey now. Wow, what a freaking week we've had, man. Welcome to the Podcast Express. And thank you to all the new listeners. I think we have over 500 downloads from SoundCloud and YouTube combined. And I checked my SoundCloud stats, and we had our last week's episode was from 152 different countries. We had people listening, so that's awesome. I wonder why that is. I wonder why we had so many listeners left from our last episode.
I don't know. Did anything major or out of the ordinary happen in the last week?
Yeah, I guess so. So our top story, and I never thought I'd be saying this, our top story of the week is, it's me. All right, so let me go ahead and refresh everybody's memory. If you've been living under a rock, you realize that Baron Corbin on SmackDown this week, he decided to go ahead and cash in his Money in the Bank on Jinder Mahal after Jinder Mahal's match with John Cena. Jinder was laid out from a super FU, or what do they call attitude adjustment? A super attitude adjustment off the top rope.
PG era is the attitude adjustment.
Yeah. So he was out after that. He interfered in the John Cena Jinder Mahal match, costing John Cena the match. And then he laid out John Cena, and then he turned in his Money in the Bank briefcase. And as soon as they rang the bell, he goes around to turn and hit John Cena, who was on the outside of the ring. And then Jinder Mahal rolled him up with the most deadly finishing hold of all time, the schoolboy, and got the 1, 2, 3. And then there goes Baron's Money in the Bank contract. And the reason why it's the top story is, Dave Meltzer kind of implied that I had something to do with that. Now, I don't think that I did. And then he came out today and said that's probably not what it was. But so my Twitter beef last week, or my Twitter war with Baron Corbin, where he said something about Dave Meltzer not being able to, because Dave Meltzer's never been in the ring before, you can't criticize a wrestler. And then Meltzer went right back at him and said, well, by that logic, then Vince McMahon couldn't have criticized anybody until 1998. Which actually, that's a good point. and then I tweeted at him. I was like, well, Dave Meltzer will be more respected in wrestling than you'll ever be. And he called me a loser. And then I responded back to him with a picture of me and Vince McMahon when I was deployed to Afghanistan, and said, well, Vince doesn't think I'm a loser. And then, of course, he apologized, and then Twitter went apeshit and started making fun of him, saying putting all kinds of memes and GIFs out there. And I honestly thought that was the end of it. Well, after SmackDown last night, I jokingly, because Mike Glbert from Garbage Time, he blamed the whole thing on me, which was funny. And so I went ahead and took credit for it. and I posted a tweet out there, and I tagged Dave Meltzer in it saying, well, that's what happens when you mess with Uncle Dave and a guy who pulls his military card. And then Dave said, believe me, pulling the military card did him no favors. And Twitter went apeshit once again, and it got picked up by the Dirt Sheets. It got picked up by a PW Mania, NoDQ.com. I'd never heard of that one before. There's a YouTube channel called Wrestle Talk TV. I guess they're out of the UK, and they talked about it, and then they called out my name, and then they posted the tweets on there. We went ahead and shared that YouTube video. And that video's got over 111,000 views as we speak. So, and then the granddaddy of them all, probably the biggest moment of my wrestling fandom, other than the time that. So I'll be honest. Whenever I took that picture in Afghanistan, I tagged Triple H in the photo, who then retweeted it, and Triple H's got 4 million Twitter followers, and I probably got 1 million retweets, to the point where I actually shut off. I didn't delete the app, but I shut off all notifications because it was getting annoying. So that was probably the most famous I think that I've ever been. But you know what? This is right up there, man. Dave Meltzer wrote in the Observer. It came out today. And if you guys aren't subscribers of the Wrestling Observer, where the hell do you think we get all this shit, man? We just steal it from Dave. He writes about it, and we talk about it. He gets all the good scoops, the good news, and plus he's an amazing writer. If you guys have never read any of his stories, I have 2 of his books here. They're both amazing. But anyway, he said the biggest news was Corbin failing in his Money in the Bank cash-in. There was a joke going around that Corbin was 0 for 4 with 4 first-round knockouts on Twitter during the week. Raleigh, which did you see what happened with him and Mojo Rawley?
I didn't.
Yeah, me either. I don't follow Mojo Rawley or Corbin. So, but Rawley, Cena, myself, and a military vet named Mike Glbert motherfuckers as me. But I don't think that really played into the decision, which obviously it didn't. And I just figured he and Cena were working their television angle, and he was playing heel on Twitter with Cena. It was bad form to call a military vet a loser. But in fairness, and this is what I was saying too, he didn't know the guy was a vet, even though in his Twitter profile, and Corbin actually must have looked at the profile, since calling him a loser, he noted that he was a loser with a photo in his profile shot in a high school gym at an indie show, and there was a photo of him that looked like it was from an indie show. Right underneath it, it noted he was a currently active Air Force B Tech. But Corbin did immediately apologize for that one, and he had to, given Gilbert had taken a photo with Vince McMahon when McMahon had gone overseas to film footage for a tribute for the Troops special. So that's my 15 or what, probably like 5 sentences of fame right there in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. So I got it's not really a correction. I went ahead and emailed Dave thanking him for even fucking bringing me up in his newsletter, but I went ahead and had to correct him a little bit. That was not for a tribute for the Troops special. Actually, there were no cameras there other than the ones that we had. They came to, I was in Bagram Airfield. I was working at the Craig Joint Theater Hospital. And it was in December of 2015, and we got an email the day before and said, Big Show, Vince McMahon, I think it was Alicia Fox, Eva Marie, and R-Truth were coming to Afghanistan. And I'll be honest, I didn't give a shit about anybody but meeting Vince McMahon. And we got the email the day before, and then they showed up the next, like, real late at night, like 10 o'clock, well, real late to me, but 10 o'clock at night. The next night, and we all kind of met in the we're outside the ER waiting room, where we kind of bring all of the people in from the field. And in the overhang, there's a big American flag up on the ceiling. It's a really cool visual there. And Big Show was probably the coolest dude, like celebrity I think I've ever met, because they were going around giving out title belts, and he demanded that he give us one, and he didn't have to do that. They gave some to, like, because the special forces guys and the guys that are out there kicking in doors, and rightfully so, they get a lot of credit, and they get most of the attention, and it's deserved. But I work in the hospital, but I'm not a medic. I'm more of an ancillary guy, and he saw the good work that we were doing and demanded that we get a title belt. And my personal, well, not my personal commander, but he was the general that was in charge of my section, was the one representing as the guy in charge of the hospital, and he presented him with the title belt, which was really cool. And then we all got a chance to get in line and take a photo with it. And then so I made sure, it was so funny. Like, you had some of the perverts want to be by the girls, and me, I just wanted to be by Vince. So I told everybody that was in my group. They kind of grouped us up in like teams of 4 or 5, and like I only knew of the other people in my group, but so I was like, guys, I don't care where you guys want to stand, I get to stand next to Vince. and it's like I stood next to Vince, I put my arm around him, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know I was at WrestleMania last year, or I guess it would have been that year. I was at WrestleMania this year, and it was like one of the coolest things I'd ever done in my life. And I was like, thank you for putting on a good show. And he goes, no, thank you. I was like, well, thank you for coming. And he told me it was an honor. So that was really cool. That was a really cool experience. But it was not for a tribute to the Troops special. I'm sure they used some photographs of the whole thing, but they didn't have any cameras with them at all. It was just them. They were coming by to say hi, and they were just totally freaking cool. So I sent him a real nice email to Dave this morning, and just let him know that part, and also let him know that the profile pic was taken at All Pro Wrestling, and it was not at a high school gym, fucking Baron Von Douchebag. It was at a community center. So little correction on that, but yeah, man, this whole freaking thing blew up, and because of that, we got a lot of listeners, and I hope that they stick around and take a gander at our episode today, man. We got a lot to talk about. So what is your thoughts on this whole thing, and your big cousin here getting in the Observer?
I couldn't be more proud of my big cousin, but I gotta say, man, like, I almost wonder if the picture had been with anybody else but Vince McMahon, if Vince McMahon wasn't in that picture and it was just you, Big Show, Truth, and Foxy, would the same reaction had occurred? Because I think Vince being in it kind of elevated the, oh shit, what did Baron just do? And also, we talked about it a little bit. If Baron would have not backpedaled so hard, like, obviously, like, he's got to apologize, but if he would have just been like, thank you for your service, you're still an asshole, I think I would have liked him better for it.
Oh, dude, he would have totally gotten me on that, but he totally backed down on the whole thing. Yeah, he should have called me an asshole. I was being an asshole.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's been a lot of comments made, like, a lot of negative things towards me for pulling the military card, and I get it, you know, I was a dick. But a lot of people are saying, oh, what, he's in the military, so he can't be insulted? No, of course I can be insulted. And I can take an insult, okay? So that idea is stupid. Baron should have kept his character intact and said, thank you for your service, but you're an asshole. That would have been perfect.
Exactly. I mean, he messed himself up because there were two good options there once you tweeted out that photo. Option A, just stick to his guns. Thank you for your service. You're still an asshole. I don't like your opinion. Option B, which is probably the option he should have taken, is not responded to it at all. Because all, 200 of your followers and of our followers would have seen it. But when he responded to it, thousands seen it. And that's on him. Because WWE would have never seen it. Vince McMahon would never have seen it. Nobody would have ever seen it. Dave Meltzer wouldn't have gotten it if he would have just left it alone and didn't respond back to it. And that's on him.
Yeah, man. He just could not help himself. But yeah, you know what? And then, of course, you know, me taking credit for the whole thing. Why not? You know what? If Nakamura wins the title on Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and accept full credit. But I think that, you know, Baron Corbin's going to have a long and successful career. And I think you know, we're going to get into the SummerSlam preview here in a couple minutes, but I happen to think that he'll have a good match on Sunday with John Cena.
Yeah, you know, I've been a fan of his since his NXT days. I don't know if he's ever going to be a top of the card, you know, a top heel, but he's definitely somebody who has all the ability to be an upper mid-card heel. I mean, he is big, he is strong. He does some small subtleties that I really like. When he throws punches, he shakes his hand a little bit. And it's something that a lot of people may not notice, but if you've ever punched somebody in the face, that hurts. Like, your hand hurts. Yeah. And it's something he does that I don't see a lot of other wrestlers do. That's a very old school tactic. You know, Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler, those guys did that. So kudos to him. He has a lot of potential. We've talked about it before. He's kind of boring. He doesn't have a lot of charisma. That can be fixed over time. He's got in-ring ability. Like I said, he's never going to be a Kenny Omega or an AJ Styles or even a John Cena, but he can be very valuable to the roster, and I think he will be.
Yeah, me too. But you know what? Fuck him. Fuck Baron Von Douchebag. The title of this episode is Baron Von Douchebag, so he will always be my arch nemesis. Fucking ass.
I'm waiting for him to start coming out on a motorcycle and just go full on like Undertaker American Badass gimmick because they have like no idea what to do with him.
Right, lone wolf.
Lone wolf.
What a dumb name.